So Ward Green again, 15:20. More than 3 hours after breaking my fast on August 7th, 2021. A 3-day fast that began on August 4th at 10:50 in the morning. So, I mean, that may be when the meal started. So the fast may have begun somewhat after 10:50. However long it takes to eat 480 calories. But I'm not concerned about too many details. What had just occurred to me, though, I had a small bowel movement, which I mentioned in the last video, I think, in the last clip. And I'm not sure whether that was triggered by the magnesium I just took or not, because I've been having bowel movements even when I wasn't eating. So very small ones usually. And taking magnesium will stimulate those, and I was taking some magnesium during the fast, as well as the salt water, which is lightly salted. And I don't know if I've really lost weight, but I appear to have lost a minimum of 3 pounds, minimum, maybe more, during 3 days. Or that was before the 3 days, that was like 2 days. But I thought that I'd gained weight prior to the fast, so I may have lost as much as, what did I say? 6 pounds, I think I said. I may have lost as much as 6 pounds. But because of water, insulin, you see, the only thing keeping water in your body is insulin. That's the hormone that does it. It causes water retention, and that's why diabetics who take insulin and who have high insulin already, the type 2 diabetics, they have bloating. Water is, and that's when they lose their feet. I guess the circulation gets cut off in their feet, but I'm not, and maybe that's through the pressure of the water bloating. I guess it is. I'm not sure. I haven't studied that yet, but I know that the bloating in the limbs is very ugly to see it, and it was always a mystery to me why diabetics get swelling. It was very repulsive to see it, because these people are sick. You know, it's horrible. But I didn't know why. But Jamnadas told me it's because of the insulin that keeps the water in the body. When you fast, the insulin drops because there's no your blood sugar drops. But he also said your blood sugar will never go really low ever until you're dead. I mean, if you fast forever, you'll die. So your blood sugar would be 0 when you're dead, obviously. When your blood stops flowing, you're not going to be measuring blood sugar. I don't believe in measuring the blood anyway, because the Bible says don't use blood. That's how I take it to mean. So I don't even believe in blood tests, and I also know that blood tests are exceedingly misleading. So even if I didn't see the Bible, I would know. But the Bible tells me not to use blood, so that makes me think. It might say don't eat the blood, but I know that eating can mean spiritual learning. It can mean learning. Jesus said, my food is for me to do the work of the one who sent me. So food can mean learning, work. It can mean work. So you're eating the blood if you're using the blood for doing your work. So I don't believe in blood tests, actually. And I also think that blood tests have caused the whole field of medicine to go away from diagnostic medicine. They're relying on these tests, which are misleading, and they're relying on them to do their diagnosis instead of symptomatic diagnosis, which is immensely more reliable, if not easy. It's not easy. But the problem with diagnosis is the patient doesn't tell the doctor everything, because they can't tell the doctor everything, and therefore the doctor can't really know what the patient's going through. So as long as the symptomatic diagnosis is performed by the patient, who knows enough and learns their body, and even then it's difficult, but it's definitely the best way to diagnose something, because you'll know that what the doctor is prescribing you is false, is wrong, based on your own experience of your symptoms. which you are not able to effectively communicate to the doctor. Now, obviously, there's going to be exceptions when you absolutely need help from the doctor. But that's the question of whether you need it or not is only decided by you. And the more you know about your body, the more you may say, well, I don't need the doctor for this. So, and doctors, let's face it, they're probably overworked, and they have too many patients who come to them without any understanding. They would much rather have someone come to them who knows something, so the doctor can learn something too. But now that's not all doctors probably want to learn, but I believe doctors are some of the most teachable people on earth because they're involved with such a complex subject as the human body, the human organism, the chemistry of the body, the biology of the body, biochemistry of the body. And that's, chemistry is based on physics, but biology is based on chemistry. One of the things Dr. Jamnadas said, you see how much energy I have right now? But it's not physical energy, it's mental energy. One of the things Dr. Jamnadas said was that the DNA expression, meaning the histones that cover the DNA, can be removed from the DNA, and then the DNA can express itself. The DNA expression, according to Dr. Jamnadas, and I know it's absolutely true, I believe it, absolutely, because he's so knowledgeable. So, I mean, maybe it's wrong, but I certainly believe it. I'm going to research it, but I believe it. And what he says is that every meal you eat immediately or directly affects your DNA expression. Every meal you eat affects your DNA expression. So that is earth-shaking information. He says, remember it, or don't forget it, and pass it on. Excuse me. What's my cough? Probably an allergy. I think hay fever season definitely coming. Definitely coming. I've had, a little bit of an itchy eye for weeks now, or days and weeks probably. But not much, but I think that hay fever, look, my nose, see, is itchy. I think it's hay fever season. That's what it is. So, but isn't that incredible that the DNA expresses itself by the workings of the cell that remove the histones from the DNA and allow it to express itself? One of the things that is, one of the genes that is in the DNA that's thought to be a very useful gene, is very useful for health, is the FOXO3 gene. So I need to research that now, because that's something that Dr. Jamnadas has elaborated a little bit on in his talks. And mTOR is something that stops the burning of fat. So, and he says because when you eat a lot of protein, this is why protein is bad. It activates mTOR, and mTOR, but eating protein is good generally, as long as you don't eat too much. Protein is good. It helps you to burn fat if you eat protein. But excess protein, if you eat it, can activate mTOR, which it causes cancer, but maybe it's because he didn't elaborate on how it causes cancer, but he's read a lot of different things, I think. I'll have to find out more about it, but you can't research everything at once, so eventually someone else will tell me something else about it, something new. But mTOR, it means, what does mTOR stand for? Mechanistic, the machine, what's mTOR stand for? I know what it stands for. I know what it is. Yeah, I know. It's rapamycin. That's what the R is in mTOR. The mechanistic, see what it stands for. Mechanistic target of rapamycin. So that's why rapamycin is good, because it can it can prevent mTOR from being active. Rapamycin. So mTOR is the mechanistic target of rapamycin, which is a product that they've used to help people reject organ transplants. So rapamycin is thought to be a healthy thing. It's derived from a tree bark of a certain tree, but rapamycin, it's a drug. mTOR is a natural body substance that is activated, and when it's activated, autophagy stops, which is fat burning. Fat burning stops, and that's bad. You want to burn fat. You don't want to have excess fat, because we know fat causes all these problems. Fat is unhealthy. People only were expected to have fat in the fall, then they would go through the winter and lose the fat in the winter, and in the summer they'd be lightweight all through the summer, and then in the fall they would eat fruit again and put on weight, because fructose causes fat storage. So this much is what I've learned. And mTOR is something you don't want. But also there's the Nobel Prize. Let's look this up. The 2016. I've never looked it up, but I've read it. I've read it online, but I haven't looked it up to see if I do a search, what I will find. Nobel Prize for, what is it called? Biochemistry? Probably. I'm guessing it's biochemistry. That's him. Yoshinori Oshumi. He discovered the mechanisms of autophagy, and he got the Nobel Prize for that. So that is notable. That's incredible, isn't it? That was only 2016. So this is cutting edge, okay? All of this that we're saying today, I'm saying it's cutting edge, and it's going to be controversial because it's cutting edge, and many people have never heard it, never been exposed to it before ever. So it's going to sound very strange to some people, myself included probably, when you first hear it, and when I first heard it. When I first heard it, I knew from the amount of information that Dr. Jamnadas was conveying in one lecture, I knew that he was correct. I knew he was onto something correct, or close to correct. And one of the things he said was, a woman asked him, she interrupted the lecture, which he didn't always answer people who interrupted him, but she said, what if you're taking insulin now, how do you fast? Or what do you do? And he said, when she said, what if you're taking insulin? He interrupted her, sort of almost, didn't interrupt her, but as soon as she finished her question, immediately he jumped on it and said, you're doomed. Because he said he had patients who took insulin, many patients, he'd given them insulin, and he said he yelled at them and nothing happened. So even if you yell at people saying you're not doing it right, or you're not telling me the truth, or you're not following my diet plan, or you're not you should be losing weight, but you're not, and these are diabetics who are being given insulin, and even yelling at them doesn't work. So that means, in his mind, if you're on insulin, you're doomed. You're never going to lose weight. So the only way to lose weight is to get off insulin. But if you're type 2 diabetes, you can safely do that. But if you're type 1 diabetes, you can't. According to him, you can't do that. You have to still need insulin. But the problem, according to, I think it's Dr. Fung in Canada, he says type 1 diabetics, they take too much insulin, and as they keep doing that, the cells fill up with glucose, and over time their insulin dose has to increase, and they eventually get very sick, just like the people who are type 2 diabetics who have too much insulin. Their sugar in their cells is rammed in. There's so much sugar jammed into the cells, there's no room for it anymore, so the insulin doesn't work anymore. So that's called insulin sensitivity. But type 1 diabetics need some insulin, but probably, or they'll die maybe, or they'll be sick. But I think there are probably other alternatives that experts know about. So I don't believe that it's necessarily true that type 1 diabetics need insulin. I believe there's a more natural approach to the solution of that problem, which we're not going to go into right now because I don't know what it is. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I've read things that suggest to me that even type 1 diabetes might not need insulin. But certainly type 2 diabetics can stop eating, and therefore they won't need insulin because there's no sugar to process. See, insulin causes the pushing of glucose into the cells, and therefore it lowers the blood sugar. So insulin is needed only when you're eating. If you don't eat, you don't need insulin. So you can stop eating, you won't need insulin. So that's the answer for type 2 diabetics. Right now, according to the cutting edge of, this is the cutting edge of conventional medicine, really. It's not even, although it's unconventional and controversial, but these are not natural health practitioners. These are allopathic doctors who are doing this. It's the cutting edge of allopathic medicine. And they're saying type 2 diabetics, who will also later get cancer and heart disease, those people can be cured by stopping their eating. Not forever, you still have to, but by fasting, by long, extended fasting, up to, some places. There's even one gentleman I read about or heard about through YouTube online who has a facility, like an institute. They do 40-day fasts, and there's people who've been living with him for $153 a night, or for over a year they've been living with him, with that group of people, all the expert doctors that they have on staff. But they don't fast for a whole year, but they fast for up to 40 days. Sometimes a little longer, like 45 days. They haven't gone very far beyond that. But they're doing water fasting, and they drink distilled water with no salt in that program. It's a program, that's what it is. He has a program. But he's a vegetarian, so I don't actually cotton to his views, because I don't believe I don't believe in not eating dairy. So how are you going to get your calcium? And he does not recommend any dairy at all. And cheese, he doesn't like cheese at all. So I'm not yet on his bandwagon at all. In fact, I don't like him. He gives me a feeling that I don't trust him when I see him smiling, and the way he's smiling, and the way I don't trust him. He's not, to me, he's not as scientific. He's not nearly as knowledgeable as Dr. Jamnadas either. Doesn't know the science. He knows the experiential statistics of what his patients have done. He knows, and it's very effective. In terms of all the diseases that are healed by fasting, and the people who need 40-day fasting are probably pretty sick, or they're very obese, So, but the thing is, I've tried 3 days now, 1 + 3 days of fasting. So I will be looking into longer fasting, only until I've lost all my weight, of course, and then I won't be fasting as much. But I will be interested in seeking fasting to the extent that it's going to get rid of my belly fat, because that's dangerous fat. It's known, I still haven't found the name of the gentleman I first learned it from, but it is known in the scientific community and the medical community in part, but the scientific community, that in men, belly fat produces estrogen, and it inhibits testosterone, which is not healthy for men, to have less testosterone. And therefore, because it induces more estrogen in the body to be produced, it encourages more fat to be produced. It prevents or inhibits fat burning. But Dr. Jamnadas didn't mention that, so neither has Dr. Fung mentioned that. So that's just the sort of summary or overview, I guess. Yeah, that's the overview of what I've learned. But I think that's true about. I know belly fat is extremely dangerous, and well, Dr. Jamnadas agrees that the visceral fat is dangerous. Yes, and I also believe Dr. Fung probably does too. There's a new person I've heard about here too who believes in starvation. He calls it starvation. I haven't heard his video, so I won't give his name yet. But these the visceral fat is the problem. It's so unhealthy. I think it's around the organs. It's not the subcutaneous, which means under the skin. You can't burn the subcutaneous around the belly until you've burned away the visceral fat, which is inside the body, around the organs. So people with a beer belly or pot belly or big belly, those people are in trouble. And it happens a lot in men. It doesn't happen in women, a beer belly. So it's a male illness. It's an illness because it's quite deadly. I think this is something my dad told me too, that his doctor told him that people with a big belly are in much worse trouble than people who are thin. So that's I remember that. I'll never forget that my dad told me that, because that stuck in my mind. My dad also told me that he knew an old person. He knew a person who ate a lot of candy and sugar. And this is not necessarily relevant to the topic because we know sugar's bad, right? But maybe it's not bad in everybody. You should be aware of this. My dad told me he knew a man who ate candy all the time, and he thought that guy's going to die really soon. I don't know how my dad knew the candy was bad, because he didn't have this science that we have now. But my dad has now passed away in 2019. But the idea of sugar being bad, he thought this guy'll die, and he knew that before this science came out about sugar being bad. I guess people have known sugar was bad for a long time, probably, but my dad knew it. But he said when my dad was quite old, he saw this guy again, and he was still eating chocolate or candy. He was living in a retirement home or something, and there he was still there, still going strong, eating candy. So let's not think that this applies to everybody. Let's not be narrow-minded completely. But that really amazed my dad, though. That was something he couldn't believe this guy was still alive. So that's another. To me, that's an important thing to know. It's important. It's sort of an outlier or something that's important to know about. It's a perspective-giving fact, It's something we need to be aware of, I think. That maybe some people do stay thin and they eat lots of sugar. If that's true, maybe it's not bad for those people to eat sugar. I know I ate sugar most of my life, potato chips, sugar, all kinds of stuff like that, which starch is generally just basically glucose in a complex carbohydrates is basically glucose in a chain. Your body breaks the chain up into glucose, so it very quickly becomes glucose in the body. So eating potato chips is like eating sugar, except it takes a little of your energy to break it down into glucose. And we've already learned that ketosis is a way that your brain doesn't need, maybe it still needs glucose, maybe, but your brain likes to feed itself on things other than glucose during ketosis. So your brain it works better. I'm probably in ketosis right now, except I may have broken ketosis by breaking my fast. I'm sure I've broken it. I will have broken it soon anyway. But the ketosis occurs, it starts to occur really after 3 days. You're really in ketosis. So I was in ketosis prior to eating. I'm not finished my cream yet. I'm going to finish it fairly soon, I think. And that might be the last meal I have until tomorrow, or maybe I'll eat. Oh man, I may eat more blueberries. They were so good. Oh my goodness. Oh. I can't tell you how good they were. Honestly, I just can't tell you how good they are. The thing is, I'm not saying that blueberries are always good. They're not. just that sometimes you get a batch of blueberries and they're the best thing you've ever had. They're just oh my goodness, these are just ambrosia. We used to say if it was good, it means food of the gods or something like that. But it was just. I still have a tub and a half, 9 ounces in the fridge of blueberries that I can eat soon. I got a watermelon, but that's not a watermelon is a high glycemic index, so it's not as good as blueberries. And I didn't know that when I bought the watermelon, but as soon as I got home, I looked it up and found out that watermelon is not a good food, so it's not good to break a fast with, because a high glycemic index, which is GI, glycemic index, high glycemic index will cause your insulin to go up quickly. It causes your blood sugar to rise quickly, which is bad because it's you want to keep your blood sugar more calm. That's the idea. You don't want to cause insulin to suddenly go up in your body, because we know that insulin is what stops fat burning and everything. So it's not recommended by Dr. Jamnadas at all for eating fruit. He says peaches, pears, plums. He even recommended apples. I've got apples, so I may have an apple later. Macintosh apples is what I've got, but they're really good. They keep for quite a while too in the fridge. But your fridge should always be, if possible, just at 1 degree Celsius, just above freezing, because then your food will keep indefinitely, like very long. I need to measure my fridge. I'm going to do that with my laser thermometer. I've never done that. And then I will turn down the temperature until I get close to 1 degree Celsius. I haven't done that yet. That's what I need to do. I just realized it now. Because I have the laser thermometer, I can do that. I can measure the temperature of food and of the walls of the fridge, and I can shine the laser, determine what the temperature is on average in that fridge. And then I can adjust the temperature to 1 degree Celsius. Oranges stored at 1 degree Celsius will keep for months and they'll be still fresh. I'm sure that's true of virtually everything in the fridge, that if you store it at that temperature, just above freezing, you reap enormous benefits from the quality of the food, regarding the quality of the food in the fridge. So let's stop again now. That's 27 minutes just now of this clip. Stop again. In case I don't come back, love to everybody, and, see you later. Ward Green here, 18:17 hours, August 7th, 2021, and I feel pretty well normal, but I'm sure my muscles are still tired. I'm still probably going to suffer a bit of fatigue, but I feel normal, whereas earlier today I definitely knew, I could feel I was fasting. I knew I was in a different state. I was in ketosis, I suppose, and that's what ketosis perhaps feels like. I'll know better if I have more experiences of ketosis, but I don't have a ketosis measuring device yet. I'm thinking of getting one. I'm thinking of getting some potassium supplements, as well as collagen, perhaps, and some other, I forget what the other one is, but I wrote them down. Let's see, here it is. Yeah. I wrote it down here. I think I did. Anyway, let's see. Oh yeah. Well, I want to get some more liquid calcium, which it's CalMag, calcium magnesium. I'm not going to be getting any more Gatorade. Yes, I will if I can find the sugarless Gatorade, but it can't have any sweetener in it, because even artificial sweetener can raise your insulin and cause hunger, which makes you want to eat. But I mean, I don't like it. Not sure if it raises your insulin or it's the ghrelin. It makes you want to eat anyway. But ghrelin is a thing in the stomach that makes you feel like your stomach feel like it wants you, like you're hungry. So anyway, I'm feeling pretty normal now. I feel my brain is good. I mean, I feel, But earlier today, I definitely felt like I wasn't, you know, optimal. I didn't feel optimal before I broke the fast, and it took a while. But since it's now 18:19, it's been more than 8 hours since I broke the fast, and I don't know when I'll eat again. It might not be till tomorrow at around noon or something. But I did watch a video which was very, very instructive. It was, let me look in my history here. Let's find the history. There it is.
Swish this sour liquid in your mouth before bed.
No. That's an ad. It's Mike Mutzel. Mutzel. Mike Mutzel. He's quite knowledgeable about fasting and ketosis, and I just watched the video. It was, let me mute this ad so I can get rid of the ad by canceling it. There we go. So here, the video is 51 minutes long on YouTube. So that was interesting, but he's not, I don't think that this video is the best one of the three of Jason Fung, Pradip, Jamnadas, and Mike Mutzel. I don't think this is the best of the three. Maybe it's not, but it may. I mean, it's quite good. It's just that it's certainly not as seems to be quite interested in science. So it's definitely worth taking a look at it, because it's another counselor, right? So that was somebody, and the other man, there's another man, here he is, let's get him. Let's get the other one. Alan Goldhamer, yeah. He's the man who runs the institute where they have a team of doctors, and they fast people for 40 days, up to 40 days. Not always 40 days, certainly, and some people, they don't fast them at all. They don't put them on any fast, they just help them in other ways. But some people live with him for a year, up to a year, and they pay something every night to stay there. But you know, I guess it's fairly rich people who do that, because you know, the amount they have to pay per night, even though it's pretty economical considering the help they're getting. It is quite a lot of money. So $150 a night, something like that, is like, it's, you know, not the most expensive hotel, but it's still, if you had to stay there for, you know, a few months, it would be pretty expensive, I think, certainly, to do that. I guess if you were only there for a few days, it wouldn't be so bad, but it's still a lot of money. Any way you look at it, because if you're staying at home and you own your own house, you don't pay any rent, but you do have to pay taxes, which is I have to pay about over $300 a month in taxes. That's per month, which is only $10 a day. So much cheaper to live at home than to live at a clinic, or whatever he calls it, an institute, or whatever he calls it, a facility, whatever, institute. Anyway, so I'm going to close that tab. I'm going to close the history. I'm going to get back to watching. I'm watching some of these survival shows. I'm watching survival shows, and they're so ignorant. It's just completely shocking. These guys are on an island, stranded on an island, and they're worried about dying in a few days of hunger. They're worried about, now maybe because of the heat. You know, maybe because of the heat, you know, they could die because of that. But surely it's not the hunger that's going to kill them, because we've just learned you could fast for 40 days. Yet these guys that's what this show highlights. They always talk about hunger killing people in a few days, which is crazy. But of course, not well. No, they don't always, because we know thirst can kill you in a few days. They don't always talk about hunger killing people in a few days, but they don't seem to know about fasting at all. That's my point. In this case, that's the point here. They don't know anything about fasting and how fasting is really better. It's healthier than eating food, as long as you've got some fat. Fasting is healthier than eating. That's the truth. That's the absolute truth, the reality. And it's a revelation that the world is not ready for, because they're all junkies for sugar and junkies for food or sugar. You know, they're junkies for whether it's protein, sugar, whatever it is that they eat. Some people are addicted to protein, other people are addicted to carbs or sugar or whatever, but carbs are basically sugar usually, or often. So I mean, or they break down to sugar, which is almost the same thing. So yeah, I feel better now. I feel more relaxed. I was kind of jittery in my ketosis. I felt a little bit of jittery. Maybe I had adrenaline. I don't know. I didn't feel much adrenaline. Well, you could tell probably I had adrenaline because I was talking the earlier parts of the video, earlier clips. This is the one where I'm later now. Maybe in the earlier clips you'll notice I was talking with more energy or something, and now I can just sort of relax, and I don't feel like, so my body's normalizing a little bit, quite a bit. I mean, a lot. So I don't know if I'm really energetic if I stand up. Well, you know what? I'm not as dizzy, but I'm definitely, my muscles are still incredibly tired from all the exercising I did in 3 days of 3 hours, 1 hour each day of exercising on my bike. So that's basically the rundown. I'm gonna stop this now, and maybe this will be all for this first 3 day fast, 1 plus 3 days fast, with a single meal after the first day of 480 calories. Now the meal I had just this morning was equal to that first meal, plus the rye bread, plus the apple cider, 1 slice of rye bread, so dark rye. So it wasn't much more than 480 calories, I don't think. Probably, I'm not sure how much 1 slice of dark rye bread is. Let's look it up. How many calories dark rye bread? 100 grams, let's say 1 slice. Oh, it could be as much as 180 in a large slice of rye bread. 180 calories. And even some calories from fat, 15 calories. But the total calories, I think, is 180. Let me look this up. 1 slice. Let me look up specifically 1 slice. 83 calories. Bread, rye bread, 83 calories. That I believe more so than the other one. 180 doesn't seem right. A 32 gram slice, so 1 ounce. Yeah, I think what I had was probably about 1 ounce or something. That's probably about right. So that 83 calories, add that, and there's probably no calories in the vinegar that I had. So it's basically very little anyway. So it's probably another, add 85 calories onto 480, you're going to get 565 calories. So less than 600 calories for this meal. And I felt really full. So I weigh about 139 the last time I weighed myself. Or 140-ish, in that range. But before I, in the winter, last winter I weighed about 142. So I don't know what I weighed just before the start of the fast, but I think it was probably a little more than 142, but it might have been the same. I mean, my belts on my pants felt a little tighter. but I might not have been remembering it correctly. So that's not a quantitative measurement. But I didn't look any fatter. Certainly, I didn't feel. I just assuming I was 142, I lost 6 pounds, but some of that may be water. I don't feel dehydrated at all. But I better try to rehydrate. And I'm lowering the temperature in my fridge. Last time I measured it, the coldest part of the fridge was about 33 degrees, which is what I want. But the food was definitely warmer than that, so I'll check it again right now. The laser thermometer. Here it is, let's see. I'm checking the milk. Oh, good. Yeah, it's down to 39 degrees for the milk. Oh, 29. Oh my goodness. It's 30 degrees on the back of the fridge. But how cold is the fridge? That seems, the back of the fridge is pretty cold. But most of the walls of the fridge are like 42, 41. You know, it's not very cold. What have we got that we can measure? 37 for the pineapple, 41 for the milk, blueberries, 45, I don't know, water. See, the water just shines right through it. 47. Applesauce, 38. You know. 42 for some kind of oil, sunflower oil or something like that. The bread, 47. The salad, 50. Hot dogs, 48. It doesn't seem very cold to me. 44. Of course, when I open the fridge, everything changes, right? I'll know if my milk freezes. It's not going to heat up that fast. The milk containers are very, very warm. 44 degrees is pretty warm. So I'm not concerned. 43 degrees, 42 degrees, and this is a laser thermometer. You can see it. It puts a spot on the thing you're measuring. That was only about $14, I think. It was ridiculously inexpensive. I think this was only $14 on Amazon. So, and all of the equipment that I bought for the studio was from Amazon too. Just thought I'd better say that because I hadn't mentioned that before. But it comes from all over the world, of course. It's not sold by Amazon or not made by Amazon. So yeah, I'm gonna just. It's time to say, God bless you, and thank you for watching. And I'll talk to you hopefully again soon. Ward Green here. 1832 hours, Saturday, August 7th, 2021. It's August 8th. Ward Green here, 2021. Last night I weighed myself after this 3-day fast. After I broke the fast, after 3 days of fasting. And I found it's a little bit inaccurate. I mean, it's not 100% certain, but it looks like I lost 3 pounds. In 3 days. That's what it looks like. Total water fast, just water only fast with salt, magnesium, and water. That was it. No food. Unless you call magnesium a food. And I had baby poop, which for 3 days, which was in small quantities, which smelled hardly bad at all. It was baby poop, yellow poop, and then last night, pretty well exactly 10 hours after I broke my fast, I started to have more color in the poop. It was more green, darker green, or a little bit darker and more greenish. And that was the meal that I ate yesterday, starting at noon, and it went on for about 3 hours. That meal, a very slow meal because I was breaking my fasts. Very gradual
introduction of food, starting with apple cider vinegar mixed with water, 4-to-1 water, and then I had blueberries, and they're the best blueberries I've ever had. After 3 days of not eating, but they're the best blueberries. I'm sure they're the best blueberries I've ever had, or up there with the best. I mean, they're just incredible. And so then I had, well, I've already gone through it all in the previous clips. So, but then I had basically one piece of rye bread, and then I had the same diet that I had 3 days earlier. Everything was the same. So the total calories for yesterday's was 600 calories, and it was 480 calories 3 days ago. So that's all the calories I've had. 480 plus 600, 1,080 calories is all I've had in 4 days. Okay, so that's, and so I did apparently lost 3 pounds. I had a 1-day fast and then a 3-day fast immediately after the 480 calories, a 3-day fast. Plus, I rode my bike 3 consecutive days, starting with April 3rd, which was the start of my fast, the first fast. I also rode my bike that, on the same day as that, and the next 2 days as well. But my heaviest or most strenuous and hardest workout on the bike so they were each 1 hour, but the hardest one was when I rode the hardest, was the third one. On the second day of fasting, I rode the most strenuous workout. And I'm sure that's because the fasting cleaned my body so that I could work out, so that I could actually work my body and not feel like it was going to kill me. I mean, I think when you're eating, it's just too much food is the lesson. But let's go back to how much I lost. I think that's what I wanted to mention. I'm going to eat in about, this is the 4th day. This is August 8th. So it's the 5th day since I started the 1-day fast, but the 4th day since I started the 3-day fast. I broke the fast after 3 days, and now this is the 4th day, which is 1 day later after breaking the fast. And I'm going to have another low-calorie meal, probably, but it's going to feel like a giant meal because I'm not hungry. I guess that means my blood sugar's low. Blood sugar, as Dr. Jamnadas says, never goes low. Really, your blood sugar will never go really low, so that you'll have problems. When you're not eating, blood sugar will always be kept high enough by your burning of fat, unless you're actually low enough in fat, in body fat, that you can die. In that case, if you're that low in body fat, you need to eat, but you don't need to eat because your body always keeps your blood sugar either by utilizing the liver or by utilizing some other source in the body of nutrients to keep the blood sugar up. So I forget what the liver mechanisms are. But I mean, I don't know. I've never really studied the liver. But I think there's something about sugar being stored in the liver, and then you get a fatty liver at some point too. You can have fat stored in the liver because the fructose is converted to fat by the liver, and that's stored in the liver. But then when the liver overflows with fat, that fat then becomes visceral fat that's stored all around the midsection where the liver is. And that's where you get stomach fat in men particularly. And I have fat on my back, but I can visually see a difference in my stomach fat. I mean, after 3 days, I see the difference. I can actually see I'm thinner in the stomach after 3 days. So I may have lost more than 3 pounds. It's very, it's not very likely, but it's very possible, because I felt like the last time I weighed myself, I was 139, and yesterday 136. And that's not corrected for the scale error. The error of the scale is like 3 pounds. I'm 3 pounds more than that. But these numbers, so these numbers need to have 3 pounds added to them. But I'm 139. I was 139, uncorrected. In other words, 142. So let's forget the correct. Let's just stick to the uncorrected. 139 minus. I was 139 minus 136, which was yesterday's number. It was 136. So that's 3 pounds lost. But I was 139 a long time ago. I never weighed it. I didn't weigh myself prior to the 3-day fast because it's not a science experiment. This is a health issue. Trying to lose weight. When I started doing it, I realized this is a health issue because I found Dr. Jamnadas' video. And Dr. Jamnadas' video was the best video I've ever seen about fasting. And I also found some other videos about fasting, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But Dr. Jamnadas was incredible because he convinced me that not fasting is what causes all disease. All disease. And that all disease is reversed. Like diabetes leads to heart disease and cancer. All these diseases cancer you can get it at any time, but they're all related and related to and caused by overeating. All of these diseases. And mainly the eating of carbohydrates. Mainly though, it's the eating of sugar and the added sugar to the diet. Added meaning manufactured sugar that's added to the processed foods. Or that you add yourself by drinking sugary drinks or all of this stuff that raises your insulin. Okay? But it raises the blood sugar. And it's the fructose that's the problem because that's not blood sugar. That goes to the liver. And that fructose always becomes fat. There's no way to stop that becoming fat. So this added sugar is always half fructose. Manufactured sugar is always half. Half of it is fructose. So every time you eat sugar, which is from the cane sugar, doesn't have to be white, it could be brown sugar. Every time you eat that, half of it goes straight to your liver and becomes fat. That's the shocking reality. And if you drink Gatorade that is not the sugar-free Gatorade, you have 34 grams of sugar in 20 ounces of Gatorade. That's a ridiculous amount of sugar, seems to me. But anything high carbs, even pasta is just a chain of glucose. So you're going to be putting glucose into your system, which is raising the sugar. That raises the insulin in your body. Insulin just allows the sugar to go into the cells. But I think insulin regulates a lot of processes in the body. And Dr. Jamnadas says it's all about insulin. Health and, these problems of disease are all about insulin. It's all about insulin. So, and when you fast, like I fasted for 3 days, now my insulin must be extremely low. And my insulin sensitivity is very high. So when the insulin goes up slightly, the body's very sensitive to it. That's what insulin sensitivity is. And so I don't need a lot of high insulin levels in order to, take care of the sugar in my body. And when I eat, my blood sugar might go way up as soon as I eat after a fast, depending on what I eat. So I eat low glycemic index fruit, like blueberries. I've got watermelon, which I'll eat later, but it's a high glycemic index. So if I ate that first, my blood sugar would shoot up really fast, and that would raise insulin too much. So I've learned all this from Dr. Jamnadas, all of this. I can't believe how much I've learned. So he's like the messiah of the carbohydrate, what's it called? What he even pointed out, I just saw another video of his today, a new one that I'd never seen. I forget the name of it. The one where he's not wearing his medical garb. And it's the one just before the bittersweet truth, that one. Just before that one is this lecture where he even mentioned in this lecture, it's all about the lies. That's it. It's called The Lies or something to do with diet and all this stuff, the lies about heart disease and the lies about why, like, we've been lied to and told that we should eliminate fat from our diet, and that's a lie. That's a complete lie that was completely false. That eliminating saturated fat is really almost the best thing you could ever eat. And they did a test on rabbits where they fed rabbits fat, and they found that it gave rabbits heart disease. But rabbits don't eat meat. They fed rabbits fat. Rabbits eat only green things. So feeding rabbits fats and then inducing heart disease and saying fats therefore cause heart disease is ludicrous. That's one lie, but there's a billion lies that they've told and they keep telling about fat being bad, and fat is actually the healthiest thing that we can eat. It's ketosis too. Like, you can be in ketosis, you can produce ketones, and that's a fat-based process. Ketosis, which is how you lose weight, but it's not only how you lose weight, it's how you increase your brain function and produce new brain cells. I produced new brain cells yesterday. I know I did. After I ate, I could feel the difference. I felt like a baby. I was touching my smooth iPhone surface, and I felt like a baby must feel. The way a baby feels. I remembered being like a baby, where you feel, oh, this is smooth, and you're like, I'm thinking like, oh, this is so nice and smooth. Or I was just in wonder, what is this? It's smooth, like wonder, just in complete wonderment of the world. My brain had gained new brain cells. And that's what happens after a fast when you re-feed. Your body produces new cells, not just in your brain though, but it produces new mitochondria in your other cells as well. So you've got a whole new body in many ways. You've got all kinds of new apparatus in your body after you fast. I could do up to a 7-day fast, according to Lauren Lockman, and he's a very experienced person with fasting. Lauren Lockman. He looks old though for a person of the age of 59. I'm 64, so he's got all gray hair. I've got some gray coming in, quite a bit of gray in my beard now, quite a lot. I'm getting gray, but not anywhere else do I have gray. But Lauren Lockman is a guy who, maybe I can get rid of the gray. Who knows? You never know. But Lauren I think I've heard about people who got rid of the gray hair. But Lauren Lockman, but I don't know how. It wasn't associated to this though. I don't know what it was. I don't know. It was associated to diet though, but to eating. But Lauren Lockman is a guy who revealed some startling truths. And one of the things he said is that raw food, that cooked food is bad. And he only said that at the very end of this interview that he had with this girl. Cooked food is bad, and that you should eat only raw. I think he's vegetarian. He's also vegetarian, but he didn't sound like he wasn't a fanatic about it. Like, he didn't push his plant-based diet to the front of the discussion at all. It was just like an afterthought. So I really liked the way he discussed everything, and he mentioned how fasting, for him, he helps people fast, having done it himself quite a bit. But I'm not impressed by how he looks as far as his age goes. But he says he mentions how good, how healthy that you are when you fast. So I know he's in good health in some ways, or he wouldn't be able to say this. But he doesn't look like his, I'm bald, but his hair is, that's just a genetic thing, I think. And his hair is not looking so great. It's like he's losing hair or something, which makes me think because he's fasted so many times. People lose hair when they fast. He looks like he's lost hair. So I don't trust him alone. But I do know what I felt yesterday was absolutely bliss. But prior to refeeding, I didn't feel so great. I was very, very weak. And now people say you can alternate between feeling weak and feeling great. Like if I if I went to day 4, I might feel strong. I might feel weak on day 5, etc. So, I was only fasting 3 days, but Lauren, the expert, he's a real expert. Lauren Lockman, he sounds like he's a real expert on fasting. And I like the fact that he knows about raw food. That means he knows. I was on a 1 year. I went on a raw food diet for 1 whole year nearly. And it was the best thing. I mean, we would have. But he meant, oh yes, and it was really, really good. Raw food is the best. I mean, I don't know why I stopped it. I guess I just stopped it because I thought I was invincible and I could start eating raw food now because I thought I could start eating cooked food again because I was so healthy. Now I can eat cooked food and it won't hurt me. So that was I think it was just stupidity. I started eating cooked food again. And also because I wanted to fit in with society, I guess, or something, so I started eating cooked food again. But I mean, we used to have jalapeno peppers and tomatoes with basil and salt in the morning for breakfast. That was our raw food breakfast. That was what we ate. I mean, Ann and I, that was what we did. But it was amazing because who eats that for breakfast? But it was the best. I've got good tomatoes right now too. So I want to get some jalapenos. I want to try that. But I've also got some things I want to eat right now that I need to eat that I still have. I got the fish cakes, which is not vegetarian, and I've made them with potatoes. I mean, I've already talked about this in the clips, but the 3 pounds I lost, you can see it in my stomach, but I still have the back fat. I still have back fat that looks like it's not much different, but from the front, I look like amazing. I mean, I want to say a bodybuilder, but I'm not that big, but I look like a bodybuilder almost from the front, but the back fat is strange, and it's too much, I think. That's just visceral fat, though. It's not the back fat. It's what's inside my body that's causing the issues. So I still have, at 136, I don't have 20 pounds to lose anymore. I've only got 16 pounds to lose now. That's all I've got. So I'm only 16 pounds overweight, that means, and you lose 1 pound for every day of fasting. So if I fasted for 14 days or 2 7-day fasts, I could almost get there. Or if I did, 16 pounds is 5 3-day fasts. If I do 5 3-day fasts, I might get there. Something like that would be close. I wouldn't stop, and I'm not going to stop. But you don't have to do 3-day fasts either. I could do it just by 24-hour fasting, because ketosis starts at 18 hours. I've learned all this stuff in just in 2 days or so. I mean, in not 2 days, 4 days. In the time since I've been fasting, since the 3rd. I started the fast on the 3rd thinking I would do a 3-day fast, but I failed. So I had a 1-day fast. And then it's like after 1 day of fasting, it can go either way. You could say, well, I'm going to continue the fast, or you can say, oh, I think I'll just have a meal, And it's very tempting because the force of habit, and the pressure of your mental teaching that everyone has taught you, your mother taught you this, you need to eat, So, but it's just, and even your father taught you that everybody teaches you need to eat, and eating is good and all that, So, but eating actually is dangerous. But after 1 day, I failed. It could have gone either way. And then I started again. And the next day, I almost failed again. Very close to eating and doing a 1-day fast only. But then I continued on for 3 days. So the hardest point, I think, is day 2. That's the hardest time when you're likely to get, especially around the time when you have to decide, am I going to go to 2 days or just stick with a 1-day fast? That's the hardest time I find, but for me, but it's different for everyone. But the incredible thing is, I mean, even if I don't do 3-day fasts, according to Dr. Jamnadas, by eating the right foods, not eating sugar, mainly that's the way to do it, and eating high fat. It could be good fats. It doesn't have to be bad fats, but saturated fat's good. He also taught me that the Mediterranean diet is actually false. It's one of the lies that was told. It's not olive oil that's healthy. It's not the olive oil that's healthy. That was another thing I learned from this talk about the lies. It's been shown that there are too many other variables involved. That people in that study, the Mediterranean people were very poor, and who were eating all these different things. They ate olive oil as well as other things, but they were, I forget the reason why the olive oil is not the cause. It's just there's other explanations for it. But he's I'm speaking about Dr. Jamnadas. He's saying he certainly has a lot of study that he's done. He's a cardiologist who's done almost 30 years of prescribing drugs, and then realizing eventually at some point realized that this wasn't working and drugs are bad and zillion things are bad. But the Mediterranean diet myth is just one that's really got me. I'm going to study this more. This has really got me going. The Mediterranean diet is not good, or it's not the olive oil. It's not the olive oil. I mean, that is totally new to me, so I got to study it more. But no, he explained it though in this talk. He explained it well enough in that one talk about the lies. You can just look that up on YouTube. You'll find it. But anyway, I gotta go. I guess I better go. But no, I'm amazed that I lost 3 pounds. But no, also I'm also amazed that my brain produced new brain cells yesterday. Now today, if I touch something and feel it, it's not quite the same. If I feel, my iPhone is smooth and that, I'm not that impressed. So, but last night, I was totally like a baby. It totally changed my brain. I mean, it was unbelievable, and it was not due to a substance. Well, maybe it was due to it was due to substance eating. It was the substance use, but not abuse. It wasn't substance abuse because I was eating for the first time in 3 days. So how can you call that substance abuse? And I eat good food, which I've already documented, like the fish cakes. I ate yogurt and pineapple, which was fresh pineapple, and it was plain yogurt with 5% fat. I had the rye bread, dark rye, 1 piece. The the apple cider vinegar and the blueberries after that. I had the half and half cream, 6 ounces roughly. I have to check the measurement and find out what that bowl holds. 6 ounces of half and half cream with matcha tea, maple syrup, and vitamin B complex, and B3 and B1 all mixed in with it. Because that's the way I often put my B vitamins in my diet. I had all my supplements too. I took all the supplements too. 11 different supplements, plus coral, plus vitamin D, plus vitamin B12. Not 11 different supplements, 11 different tablets or capsules. Three of them were vitamin K2. 3 were boron, that's 6. 1 was selenium, that's 7. 1 was vitamin E, that's 8. I didn't take 11 because I'm stopping my vitamin E right now because I found out it was not so good, or it might not be good. So I was only taking 10 supplements instead of 11 because of that. Not 2 vitamin E, but 1. I also had iodine in liquid form. That's also still 11 because you add the iodine, it becomes 11. So, but the other thing was I had my multivitamin. So I've said 7, that's 8 is the multivitamin, and the iodine, of course, is 9. I had glutathione is 10. Wait a minute. Okay, let's go back. 3 K2, 3 boron is 6. 1 vitamin E is 7. 1 multivitamin is 8. 1 glutathione is 9. 1 selenium is 10. And 1 vitamin E is 11. No, that's wrong. Let's do it again. 3 K2 and 3 boron and selenium is 7. That's one way to go. Let's do it that way. The vitamin E is 8. That's it. the glutathione is 9, and the multivitamin is 10. So that's correct. And then I had the iodine makes it 11. So I had 11 different supplements as well as my magnesium yesterday. But my magnesium, I laid it all out, but I didn't take it all. And my magnesium I was taking, I didn't stop this video yet. I'm still going. I'm just gushing here with information. What happened was with the magnesium, the second day of the fast, I only took for the 2 days after that, I only took 1 day's worth of magnesium, but my magnesium intake was up to 2 grams a day prior to this fast. So I was taking 1 gram a day instead, or something like that. On average, it's not like I took actually 1 gram exactly each day. Just the average was about 1 gram. So now, yesterday, I laid out 2 grams of magnesium again, but I'm not going to take it because I know it's going to move my bowels like crazy because I'm now cleansed. My body's not in the state it was before the fast, which is all clogged up with food. I only weighed 139, I think, before the fast, roughly. It could have been more, though, because I thought my belt was increasing. But my belt is always tighter after a meal, and I'm not sure that. But I felt like my belt was getting a little tighter, and therefore I have gained a little weight. So I might have lost more than 3 pounds, based on that. But I'm not interested in the science. I'm not interested in the science of this. Okay, I'm not going to do this as a science experiment because it's not about that. It's about growing new brain cells. I'm realizing now. This is what I just realized. It's about growing new brain cells. That's what this is about. Can you imagine if you could if you can't fast for 3 days all the time? I mean, or you can't fast indefinitely, you'll die, right? But I mean, you could fast for 40 days or something. You could fast for I could fast for probably 40 days and I'd be fine. I just don't know if that would be the sensible thing to do at this point. I don't think I could do 40 days without the advice of somebody helping me. Because if I feel really weak, I just wouldn't be able to keep going. I'd say, well, I better eat, Whereas if I had somebody to talk to, he would say, well, here's what you can do. You don't have to break your fast. You can just do this instead, or So someone who's experienced is what you need when you're fasting for longer periods to counsel you during that time. But that costs money, I think. It doesn't have to. I guess I could find somebody who would do it for free, maybe. But I would need some, or I could just get a lot of good books and maybe do it that way. That's the other thing. If I had the right, nowadays the internet exists, and Loren Lockman started fasting before there was the internet. He's been around for 59 years, and he's been fasting for a long time. So he's been helping people for a long time too, to do longer fasts, longer than 21 days and stuff like that. But I think anyone can fast for up to 7 days, according to what Loren said. Loren Lockman said anyone can do a 7-day fast without help. Now, that doesn't mean everyone should do it at all. It doesn't mean that. But for me, I know that I should not do a 7-day fast right now. That's what I know. But I might be ready for it. I think doing shorter fasts prepares you for a longer fast. It's a practice, and it's a learning, and it's a progression. So I don't feel I'm ready right now, this moment. In 10 minutes time, I might be ready for a 7-day fast. I just don't feel I'm ready at this moment. But I'm ready for another 3-day fast because I found that was incredible. And the sensation of eating food again was just unbelievable. Okay, it's 30 minutes. We got to quit. This is going to make an enormously long video if I don't have some restraint. But the most amazing thing to me is that I look thinner after 3 days. I can't believe it. But I didn't eat, and I didn't have to brush my teeth for 3 days. I didn't have to wash dishes for 3 days. I didn't have to prepare food for 3 days. The time I saved. And I didn't have to suffer the effects of energy loss after eating, which decreases your energy level. because you need to digest the food. I didn't suffer any of that for 3 days, so I had more time to learn and study and just exercise. I had more time to exercise as well. I mean, everything. When I was eating before, every time I ate, I didn't want to exercise because it felt terrible. I felt like I was so bloated. So I couldn't exercise before. Now I can exercise for 1 hour a day. That's incredible. But I mean, so I got to go. It's 31 minutes. I got to go.
Okay, it's Ward Green here, 10:17 a.m. August 8th, 2020. I should be able to say 10:17 without the a.m., but because in the afternoon I'll say 1300, but I better say a.m. because otherwise it might be ambiguous to some people. But anyway, it's the morning on the 8th, the day after I broke my fast. So it's been, not 24 hours, but getting up towards 24 hours since I last ate. And this is the, let's talk about yesterday first. Yesterday I had a meal of about, I worked it out. When you add back in the fact I forgot that I'd eaten, one of the things I forgot to include in the calorie count was the blueberries. When I add that in, assuming that I ate a little less than 3 ounces of blueberries, I don't know how many ounces. The package says 6, but I'm sure they're cheating a little bit because it might be a 6-ounce package, but the blueberries have airspace between them. I'm not sure that they really weigh 6 ounces. I don't know. I don't know how they determine what 6 ounces is. Is it 6 ounces by... Is there such a thing as 6 ounces by volume? I don't think so. But yes, there is. Well, there's liquid ounces, right? So there is ounces by volume. Of course there is. So therefore, the ounces of the blueberries, I'm not convinced that it was really 3 ounces. It was less than half too, of the package. So less than half of 6 is going to be about 2.5. So I worked it out as 2.5 ounces times what is it supposed to be? 48. It was supposed to be 48. I remember the number. It was supposed to be 48 ounces or 48 calories, I should say, for 3 ounces of blueberries. That's the number that I was given by the online search. So it's 37 is what I got, which is slightly less than what 2.5 would be, 2.5 ounces. But if I take it as 37, that just makes the total come out to exactly 600 calories. So that's why I took 37 instead of 40. So I ate about 600 calories, but I need to measure the volume. Let's measure that bowl. I'm going to try this bowl. That's 6 ounces right there. Okay. 6 ounces. So it was more than 6 ounces. Okay. Okay. I think it was more like 9 ounces. So, I'm over 600. Perhaps. I may be over 600 calories, because the cream that I said was 6 ounces of cream is probably more like 9 ounces of cream. Anyway, that's what I've just determined by measuring the bowl, by measuring the water and putting it in the bowl. So, that just means when I had the cream, if I come back here to where I did the calculation, I said that 6 ounces of cream, half and half, is 221. I have to add a half of that again, about another 110 calories, so I might be 710 calories. So let's make an amendment. 710 calories with 9 ounces of cream. So that was the correction. That's the correction that I've just done. Okay. So, it's still pretty low calories for having had a 3-day fast, and then that's all I ate was in one yesterday. And now today, I still haven't eaten, so I'm about to have another meal, and I'm going to eat I want to finish up some of the food that I've got in the fridge when that happens, but I'll probably try to eat just one meal today, because I think if I do that, I'll still be burning fat. I may lose some more weight if I do that. I want to lose fat. And the other thing is, I don't know what I'm going to eat today, but I have some other things that I want to eat. I don't know if I'll eat the fish cakes, but there's another thing I could eat. I can have salad today, because I have romaine lettuce. That's good. I should have a salad, I think, today to balance my diet a little bit. And I just feel like I want a salad. That's why I bought the lettuce a while ago. But I haven't. I've kept the lettuce now for how long? Probably. I didn't buy it when I was fasting, so it's been sitting there for a few days. But romaine lettuce keeps for many, many days if you don't seal it completely up. Just keep it fairly sealed, a little bit, almost sealed, with a little bit of allow the air to go in. In a plastic bag that's open at one end is one way that I use frequently. That's the only way I'm doing it actually right now, but for many months or years. That's how I've done it. I have the blueberries. I'm not breaking the fast, so I don't need the apple cider vinegar, but I'll put that in the salad if I have a salad later. The salad is going to be part of my meal. It's not going to be later. What am I saying? I'm not going to have a meal and then later I'll have something else. You see, that's the way I used to think. But Lauren Lockman is another expert on fasting who has really convinced me of the benefits, although I'm not totally convinced that he is a good example of I'm not convinced that a longer fast. That's what I'm saying. Lauren Lockman does help people do longer fasts, like 40 days, 20 days. And that, to me, I'm not at all thinking that they're bad, but after seeing him, I'm actually more afraid of a longer fast. Especially in my case, if I did a 40-day fast, I'd lose 20 pounds. And I don't need to lose 20 pounds. So obviously a 40-day fast is not for me. So I might be able to do a 20-day fast and I could lose 10 pounds. But I know I need to lose 16 pounds right now. That's all I need to lose. But I could do that by doing multiple 3-day fasts. That's what I wanted to talk about. I could just do 3-day fasts every once in a while, lose 3 pounds, and then keep that weight off by eating very wisely without eating these sugars. I'm just astonished and astounded and mortified. And what's the other word I'm looking for? Confounded by... I forgot to mention, I was going to mention it in the previous clip from the iPad, which was I did it in bed in the dark. I was going to mention that one of the amazing points, I just didn't get to the point, I guess. I keep going off topic because there's so many things to talk about. But Dr. Pradip Jamnadas mentioned that the reason why Britain and Europe established their colonies. This is what he said. He may well be right about this, but I haven't done any independent verification or I haven't thought about it much. I haven't had time because I just learned this morning. He said the reason, it's unbelievable. It really, I mean, I believed it at the time, but just to tell the world, you know, on YouTube, I'm not so sure that it's going to be believed. But the reason that Europe established colonies, do you know what it was? He said it was to have sugar plantations. That's why they did it, to have sugar plantations, so they could then obtain sugar. That's why they did it. And eventually, in Germany, they found a way to manufacture sugar from beets. And then they had even, you know, more local sugar, more you know, available sugar. They didn't have to go miles and miles into the tropics or, you know, to these colonies to get the cane sugar and then refine it and ship it back. They don't ship the raw cane usually. I think they refine it. At least that's what they traditionally did. Nowadays they're shipping all kinds of things. But back then they shipped the refined sugar because it was easy to ship. You could put it in bags and it wouldn't go bad on you, I guess. You just, you know, it's not going to rot. It's just sugar, crystals. You can carry it, you know, as long as you don't get it wet. You can transport the sugar all over the world, you know. So that was what they did, and it's like I'm just starting to realize this is like the drug trade. It's like the drug trade. It's exactly like the drug trade. It's shocking. It disgusts me when I think of it that way too, because it's bad to be dependent on substances. And that's what people are doing with sugar. They're being dependent on sugar. And I'm serious. 5 days ago, I did not have any, I don't know how to put this. 4 days ago, 5 days ago, I was completely unaware of this. I may not even have believed it. If the wrong person told me, I wouldn't have believed it. If someone had told me this and they were not as knowledgeable as Dr. Jamnadas obviously is, and as thorough and as scientific as he is, I wouldn't have believed it. I mean the part about specifically, I might have believed the colonies thing. I would not have believed that sugar is a drug dependency. I would not have believed that. Because I was addicted to it myself. That's why I couldn't. See, addicts never will accept. You know, they're in denial. Because they have to sustain their addiction. And the reason why I wouldn't have, I'm just saying, I may have accepted it, but the reason I wouldn't have been in that mindset, that's what I'm saying. I would not have been in that mindset because I thought sugar was needed to maintain your blood sugar. I thought I had to eat sugar to maintain my blood sugar. Or that sugar was actually not bad for me, or that sugar, I had all these thoughts which are false, completely false. He says if it has a barcode on it and it's in a box, or, you know, well, it's not him that says it, but some other guys said, one other guy said if it was in a box, or I forget what the other things were. What is it? A box or a bottle, or some different things. Or a can. Yeah, a box or a can, or maybe a bottle or something like that. Don't eat it. So in other words, natural food only. You know, like you can eat meat. This guy was not vegetarian either. In fact, he believed in high protein and meat. But if you, you know, you can be vegetarian and not eat processed food either. But these processed foods, even milk is processed, right? I mean, but I guess, it's pasteurized, and homogenized, and so on. And the pasteurization is the main one there that kills a lot of the good stuff in the milk. But, well, we know why the government does it. We know they do it for safety and so on. It's not possible to go against the government, but maybe we can legally buy or rent a goat or whatever you do. You know, you buy milk at a local farm or something that's not pasteurized. Maybe you can circumvent the law and get raw milk. I've never done it personally. To be honest, I've never done it. But I mean, if I did do it, I'd have to admit that, and then I'm not sure that I'd want to admit that because I'm not ready to take that stand, you know. But I might be ready to do that. But now, many people believe that dairy is good. I happen to agree with them. The people who say that dairy is really good, you know, really good, healthy stuff. But there are increasingly more people say that, who are against dairy and against all animal products. And but that's not what I wanted to go into. It's just I didn't want to go there right now. It's the sugar. The sugar is the thing. But well, milk has lactose, right? That's the sugar. But it's not a harmful sugar because it's in the milk. It's part of a food. It's like a whole food. That's a much better food than sugar. Sugar is not a food at all. It's a manufactured product. That's not food. See, that's important to realize. And I didn't realize that sugar. I just had memories of my mother putting sugar in her baking and using brown sugar. And so brown is the same as white sugar. It's brown and sugar is the same thing, just colored. Just colored sugar. And it's just as bad for you. So all these things, because of the fructose, it's bad for you. It's got half as much fructose as it does, just as much. Half of it is fructose. Half of the total is fructose. It's got just as much fructose as it has glucose. The same, equal amounts of each. So, and the fructose. Well, we can't keep rehashing that. But it's dangerous stuff, the fructose. So. Now, that's why eating fruit is also dangerous, too. If you eat too much of it. So, well, Dr. Jamnadas says eat only half the fruit, not the whole fruit when you eat fruit. So that's one thing he says. That's interesting, too. So, I mean, it's just becoming more aware of the science, too, behind how the body works, how insulin works. And he says it's all about insulin, so... But what the sugar thing is just a revelation that it's an addiction, and I didn't want to believe that because I believed that all of the mainstream was wrong, and they were all saying that sugar was bad, from what I could tell, but they had no science behind it. They didn't present any science, so I just said, well, it must be wrong because there's no science behind it. So I was convinced that sugar must be okay then, because these people are saying it's no good. So I know that wasn't scientific reasoning on my part, but also I was addicted to sugar. That's what it was. But I didn't used to add sugar to anything. I only started doing that when I realized that maple syrup was expensive and I was using maple syrup. But you know, maple syrup is a healthier sugar, but it's still sugar. And I'll have to verify again how much of it is, how much fructose is in maple syrup. Let's find out. There we go. Maple syrup is 50 to 75% sucrose. That's bad, because half of that will be fructose. But 4% of maple syrup is fructose. But more of it is fructose because the sucrose breaks down into fructose and glucose. So, and it's half and half. So, it's 29% to 41% fructose. That's maple syrup. So it's not good. So there we go. I'm going to eat that in moderation now. In extreme extreme moderation. Like, I've got lots of maple syrup. It's going to last me a long time. I've got lots of some other things so I won't have to keep a lot of things on hand. It'll just be mainly fresh produce. That's going to be the way to proceed here, I think. So the sugar thing is an addiction. Let's get that clear. And because it's an addiction, you become blind if anyone tells you sugar is bad. Now, why would I have thought sugar was okay? I guess because I knew that I was wrong, but I believed that maple syrup was okay, and I believed that agave was okay because I've used it as a sweetener. In chocolate balls, for example, that's where I use agave, but that's fructose, high in fructose. But because of my prior experience like that, I believed that sugar must be okay. Therefore, I didn't even know that agave was high in fructose, but I thought that sugar must be okay. Therefore, and I was also addicted to it without knowing. So I thought that therefore white sugar was okay, and also brown sugar was okay, and I could add those to things and no. So I started adding that only in the past few months, like only during the COVID, I think. Maybe it was prior to that. Yeah, maybe it was prior to the COVID. I think it was prior to the COVID. Yeah, it was a few years ago. I started adding white sugar to things and brown sugar because I knew that maple syrup was going to cost me a lot of money if I stuck with only maple syrup. And all of it, I now realize, is not good. So, well, it's just such a revelation. But the thing is, I didn't understand. I didn't think it was possible to eat without sugar. That was the thing. That's the reason. After I finish a meal, I want to have a dessert that's a sweet dessert, and that was the way my parents taught me too. Was you have a sweet dessert at the end of the meal, with sugar, of some kind, and that's always what I just believed because I was taught that. So I therefore thought sugar was okay, and that so that's the other underlying reason behind it, the deeper reason. And I didn't think that anyone could do it without sugar. Because, I mean, after a meal, I always felt like I need something. I need something sweet, and so I didn't know anyone who did it any differently. But now that I've seen that there's people who actually really don't eat sugar, seriously, and they enjoy their food tremendously, too. That is a revelation. Well, when you fast, these are people who fast, or they eat raw food or something. When you eat raw food, you really enjoy your food. I mean, it's tremendous how it changes. Like only salads, or only, you could have nuts and nut butter and stuff used. You can use it to make a nut crust, nut flour, or grind up the nuts and make a coarse flour. And well, of course, you mix it with honey. That's fructose. But I mean, you could do maybe there's another way to do it. But I used to make pies out of raw fruits, but that's fructose too. We used to eat a lot of raw food, exclusively raw food for a whole year. And the changes in health were enormous. I mean, the benefits to the health by eating raw food was enormous. So fructose may not matter as much when you're eating a raw food. I'm not sure. I mean, there's so many things to just classify as far as knowledge goes. If you're eating, because most people eat cooked food, so how are you going to compare? But the healthiest people eat raw food. That's what I think is true. It's really true. So I have to go back to raw food at some point. I have to go back to raw food and see what happens. But for right now, the fasting is incredible, unbelievable. How I like I said in the previous clip, I've grown new brain cells. Literally, yesterday I grew new brain cells and I could feel it. You know how I felt like a baby. I was like, there's something different here. I'm new. I could think, with this incredible peace of mind and not have any worries at all. I just, my brain was totally renewed, completely. But I don't know how many new brain cells it takes to do that. But it must have been the brain, because of the way I felt. Something was different in the brain for sure, the way I felt. So that's what, and Dr. Jamnadas says you do have, I forget what he called it, neurotropic something. Let's look it up, see if we can find it. I doubt most of what he says is not, or a lot of what he says is not always common. Yeah, brain neurotropic factor. That's what he said. Brain neurotropic. I had to add the word brain to the search. Neurotropic brain. And it came up with brain neurotropic factor. That's what allows you to, I think that's what allows you to actually create new brain cells. Let's see, what does it do? Yep, the growth of the cells, it, as well as other things, but the growth of the brain cells is regulated by this brain derived neurotropic factor, and that comes about because of fasting. It's amazing. All my other problems are going to just diminish. And by the way, I also, just before I end this clip, I think I want to end it now, but I wanted to mention that after I broke my fast, I could suddenly hold my pee again. I didn't have to run to the bathroom. Like the insulin goes up when you eat, and the insulin causes retention of water. That's why diabetics have swollen feet. That's why they lose their feet eventually as they get more advanced in the disease. But if they were fasting, they would never. Their diet. It's hard to believe if the obese people who are diabetic would fast, they would lose the weight and their diabetes would go away. If they're type 2 diabetes, they wouldn't have to take insulin even. So they wouldn't be able to take insulin because it wouldn't work. But they wouldn't need insulin if they were fasting, because insulin is only needed to process the excess glucose you eat. It goes into your system and is produced when you eat. So I've learned all this. I now understand diabetes much better. Diabetes leads to heart disease. Heart disease is another thing that kills you, and cancer can kill you, and cancer is also reversible by, if you catch it early, supposedly. But if you fast, you prevent the cancer from obtaining any food, because cancer needs enormous amounts of food. That's why it grows so fast. So cancer cells die when you fast. It's very, very impressive. Science. It's science. This is not theory or myth or it's not conjecture. I mean, it's not, and it's not theory. It's known but maybe the part about, I don't know how they've tested that cancer dies, but so maybe that part is theory, but this is all part of, it's scientific theory, and it's based on sound principles, and it's very scientific from that standpoint. It's not a kind of wild guess or anything like that. It's very sound logic. That's what it is, logic. So it's amazing. It's amazing. So anyway, I've got new brain cells. I mean, but now this morning I don't feel the same as I did last night. So the fasting is what did that for me. Whether I doubt that I lost brain cells last night by sleeping though. So maybe I just got used to it, having those brain cells. But it's being able to not worry about things comes about when you're it may be biochemical. It might not be just, well, I've had a hard life. It might be, my system is mixed up a little bit inside, and the fasting can straighten that out completely. And then you say, well, all of a sudden you have all of a sudden your memories are not all traumatic, or your memories are still traumatic because they're associated with those negative thoughts, but you can fix that, of course. You can fix those memories too, eventually. But I mean, just by associating differently in your mind. But that might take a while. That's not got to do with dieting or fasting, I mean. But the fasting can fix your present level of trauma your present level of how you look at when you come into your house or when you walk down the street, when you look at things outside, do you worry or are you happy about seeing, the birds flying and the animals, the creatures of all of creation? Does it make you happy or does it make you worried? That can be immediately made much better by a fast, because your body just heals everything. Your gut is healed by the fast. That's the other thing. The gut is healed, or it's in the process of healing. It partially heals during a fast. So 3-day fasts for right now. Question is now, when is my next 3-day fast going to be? And it's going to be, I think it'll be as soon as I can get the wherewithal to feel like, yes, I'm ready, But that's when it will be, because I want to lose more weight. I want to grow more brain cells. I want to cleanse my intestines more. But I think to cleanse the intestines, at some point I'll have to do a longer fast. So if I don't, the thing is, I may have to do the longer fast before it's too late, because if I don't do that, I won't have enough fat to do a longer fast. So I have to think about that. I'll think about that. I may want to do one long fast instead of multiple short fasts. But this is Ward Green, 1048, August 8th, 2021, signing off.